This video on Chapter 8 of A Prayer for Owen Meany called The Finger will not be about the finger. You probably already figured out that at the removal of his finger, John Wheelwright joins Watahantoit, the armadillo, the dressmaker's dummy, and the Mary Magdalene statue in armlessness. It's important that, typical of John Wheelwright, his amputation is of a significantly lesser degree. By this point in the novel, we have a pretty good understanding of the person who is telling us this story. Our impressions are gleaned, in particular, from the diary-like interjections in each chapter. To understand what Irving is telling us about his narrator, we can look at the contrast between the life of John Wheelwright and that of his mentor, the Reverend Kathy Keeling, the headmistress of the Bishop Strawn School where he teaches. Wheelwright comments on the thinness of Catherine Keeling. Her thinness is symbolic of her unselfishness as she gives her life away to her charges, her family, her friends, and the students of the school. She's very nurturing, even of John Wheelwright. I love it that she takes him on family vacations to the cabin. The main difference between these two characters is that Catherine Keeling experiences a fullness in her life that John Wheelwright does not. Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor describes this fullness. He says it's a sense that life is richer, deeper, and more worthwhile, more admirable, more than it should be. Fullness, whether we recognize the presence of the supernatural or not, is a reflection of the transcendent. But, Taylor says, fullness also has a negative slope, where we experience above all a distance and an absence, an exile, a seemingly irremediable incapacity to ever reach this place. Okay, spoiler alert. But maybe not, because you may have already guessed where the novel is going. You have been warned. It's clear through the narration of this story that John Wheelwright experiences fulfillment in his relationship with Owen Meany. Indeed, it's likely that the reader is experiencing much the same thing while reading the novel. But Wheelwright has not experienced this fullness since Owen Meany's death. Wheelwright is on Taylor's negative slope. He's incapable of reaching fullness because his relationship to the transcendent is oppositional rather than incarnational. He sees a huge chasm between the realities of the ordinary world and those of the transcendent. Wheelwright's perspective is laden with a whole host of oppositions. The United States must be perfect or damned. Owen must be either divine or human. And his own life must be wonderful or terrible. In the absence of the incarnational perspective, which would bring these things together, he does not encounter fullness in the transcendent. Instead, he often experiences the negative orientation of fullness, which is distance and absence and exile. Dr. Catherine Keeling tries to show him the alternative, but she is largely unsuccessful. Most of the characters continue to oppose Owen's faith, particularly in his belief that the dream is a vision of the future. Owen tells the story of his dream with the certainty and authority of a documentary, which is the tone of voice of those undoubting parts of the Bible. According to Johnny, to treat the dream seriously is infantile. As he puts it to Owen, "This is so childish. You can't believe that everything that pops into your head means something. You can't have a dream and believe you know what you are supposed to do." Johnny repeats this sentiment when he says, "It's just a dream," and declares it a stereotype. Johnny argues from the psychoanalytic perspective that, in the dream, the nuns, the palm trees, and the children are tied to unresolved psychological conflicts. Owen insists that faith is not childish, nor is it irrational. He tries to explain reasonable faith to Johnny using the statue of Mary Magdalene. That was near the basketball court where they practiced the shot until it was dark. Owen would ask, "You can't see her, but you know she's still there." He repeatedly and annoyingly returned to this question. "You're sure? You have no doubt. You absolutely know she's there." Until Johnny screams, "Yes." Then Owen says, "Now you know how I feel about God." Not every human being experiences fullness, but it's perhaps something we all seek. This novel shows that it is decidedly easier to experience with an incarnational view of reality. That's what I got. Come back and watch the video about the last chapter called The Shot. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.